Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of Main Character Syndrome. I'm your host, Cheesymanfredo, aka Alfredo Morales, and with me here today, always has been, Julian, my Julian. Say hello, Julian.
Hello. I would like to apologize in advance to all the Princess Peach fans. She looks better in blue than she does in pink.
Damn. What are you referring to? Did she wear blue recently? Are you talking about the new Peach game?
Intro me.
Oh, Dan, there's no. That's
fine.
That's,
Never mind.
That's
Forget it.
That's Tectonic Improv here for the 7th time. Old reliable.
It hasn't been 7, has it?
It's probably been like 4 or 5, if I had to guess. I could check right now, but I don't want to.
The seventh podcast will be the last podcast appearance by yours truly on here. I'll say. I'll put my line in the sand right now.
Yeah, after that, a tragedy will befall us. That will prevent Tech from being on the podcast. I won't say what it is, but
you'll have to rebrand it new Main Character Syndrome to get me back.
Yeah. We're gonna do that Disney Channel thing where they like avoid paying for extra seasons. They just make a whole new series so they can just keep paying the actors the same amount.
Main Character Syndrome on deck.
Main Character Syndrome on deck. Main Character Syndrome's house. Fuller Main Character Syndrome.
I think Maria Bamford had a similar agreement. She stopped appearing on Conan's first late night show, but then agreed to come back when he moved to TBS.
Oh, wow. Is it because she didn't like the people who were running it before they got the TBS deal, or was she like?
I actually don't recall. It was something very silly. I think they were making a joke.
Well,
I mean, I know there's like, there is like actual bad blood with like the whole Conan NBC, right? Was that what late night was on?
Wasn't it he was like super popular but then they kind of threw him under the bus, right?
He had a time slot, and then Jay Leno was supposed to have been retired, but then he unretired himself.
Damn.
Yeah, he came back like pretty unceremoniously, like I think a few months after.
Damn.
This was a really big deal at the time, actually.
I do recall the Jay Leno return, and people were like, huh. Okay.
Yeah. So, like, because Conan, I think also Conan O'Brien wasn't polling well with viewers at the time, but he polled good with millennials. So like people with like more online presence really like Conan O'Brien, but like the more boomers that actually watched late night didn't care for him as much. So I think it was kind of a no-brainer for NBC to bring back Leno, even especially when he unretired himself.
Yeah.
But I mean, honestly, at the time it was pretty nasty, but I think it did nothing but good for Conan's career in the long run.
Yeah.
Because he got that TBS show.
A underdog.
Yeah, he basically became a martyr.
Right, and
people still love him. And Jay Leno has his cars that explode sometimes. So, everyone made it out at the end.
Yeah, everyone
What's funny is
got
that
what they wanted.
NBC apparently said, sure, you're getting knocked off now, but we'll bring you back in like 6 years. And it's like, who would wait 6 years?
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I remember one time when I was still in high school, it was either freshman or sophomore year, I don't remember anymore, but I was staying up late, as you do.
Yeah.
Right.
And on Netflix, at the time, there was this documentary basically about Conan's like days after he got fired and like what he was doing in that meantime. I think this was post the TBS deal, so it was kind of like sandwiched in between those.
Yeah.
I remember it was like an hour and a half. I watched the whole thing, barely watched Conan, but I liked it, and I think I went to bed at like 3 a.m. that night and had to wake up 3 hours later to go to school.
That's so cool.
You do.
I've been in that situation before. When I spent that one night watching Toonami, watching the first Rebuild movie, and I had to wake up early because my parents serve food. They volunteer by serving food at the church, you know, and Toonami is
Oh,
like
yeah.
late at night. Yeah, it was awful. I hate the church. Um, not a good place, folks. Really, I going more to church made me more of an atheist. This is unrelated to Conan.
Conan might be an atheist. I don't know.
Conan is like he's like Irish, isn't he? Isn't he like? Did they take a DNA test and he's like 100% Irish, which means that there was a lot of inbreeding in his lineage.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so insane.
I think
to
because
me.
he's Irish, that implies that he's also Catholic, but probably in Catholic in the way that most like North Americans, like in that income bracket, are Catholic, where it's like, oh well, I did it when I was a kid, and then I had adult responsibilities.
Yeah,
Conan is definitely Ireland's strongest soldier.
isn't that
A product of inbreeding or not? He's basically like the perfect specimen.
Yeah, with that fucking hair and that like face,
What do
he
they
looks
call
like
it?
a cartoon character.
The Ubermensch. Like he's tall, built,
Funny, long cock, big hands.
You might Irish might be one of the only type of white person that you can call an Ubermensch and not get eyebrow raises from it.
Because they have that bonus of like also being oppressed, you know.
Yeah, they're one of the oppressed ones. So
right, base.
They're one of they're the type of white person that like really annoying people will be like, actually, they're racist towards us too. Don't read too deep into that.
Yeah, that's why it would. I mean, yeah, that's what led to Conan being fired that first time by NBC was because of Irish racism.
It was. I mean, he was hired on from affirmative action to begin with. So,
you know what? I'll say this though, and I believe this unironically. I think you know how like there's this big complaint going around where everyone's all like, have you noticed how all the redhead characters are always cast as like black characters in adaptations now? And
yes.
And people are really trying to convince themselves that they give a fuck that this is happening, that they cared about the redhead plight, you know, which is such a big joke. Cause I remember a couple years ago, these same people were all about Kick a Ginger Day, you know. But then I was thinking about it. I'm thinking that it might be because of the oppression that redheads have faced, you know, that when it comes to casting, these higher ups, these white higher ups are kind of like, well, we gotta like, you know, we gotta cast some black people, but we can't give up, you know, the blonde and blue eyed people. No, we get rid of the lesser whites, which are like the redheads in their eyes, you know, and those are the
That's
ones.
probably true. Or at the very least, there's some sort of answer that's somewhere in the middle.
Potentially, I'm not saying that like because a lot of like stuff like racism and like bigotry is very like subtle. Is like way more subtle and like than people like realize. That's why like a lot of people will like get very upset when they get the accusations of like racism, because they're like that wasn't their intention at all. It's not like they were malicious, but they didn't like, you know, question whatever thing was going on in the back of their mind, which reminds me of this is like I'm gonna talk a little bit about something about like a side of Twitter that probably no one gives a fuck about, which is like
gonna be good.
Which is every side of Twitter. But there's this one guy. I think his name is like Taku something, and he's like an artist, and he's well known for like redesigning like superheroes. That's like his bread and butter.
This is the Common America guy.
This is not the Common America guy.
Okay, I don't know this then.
Yeah, he's called the Yotaku Boy, and he's I guess they pronounce his fucking name. He does a lot of like redesigns, right? And I'll say this. Sometimes his redesigns are good, but most of them are like misses. You know, like most of them are not that like interesting or like kind of clever. You know, but I think he's a good artist, so I follow him, and he posted this redesign he did of Superman, like a couple of days ago, right? And I saw it. I was scrolling by, and I saw it really quickly. I didn't really interact. I didn't interact with it or anything, and I was like, yeah, it just looks like Superman, My Hero Academia, or something.
He looks what's the word?
Deku-esque.
He looks like a pathetic little meow meow
Yeah, true.
Superman.
Exactly. That's pretty hot right now.
If they use this design or something similar for My Adventures with Superman, I think people would never shut up about that show, at least for 3 months.
People weren't shutting up about that show when it dropped. I think they had a pretty good thing going with that, like himbo Superman angle.
It's
right?
pretty good design.
Yeah. That being
that
said,
Lois Lane is also pretty good.
Oh, that Lois Lane's top notch. That being said, yes, I didn't think twice about this like design.
I think I'm ahead of you on this. I'm reading the comments.
More like super lame. That suit looks like a Superman's construction site. Yeah, you know what? That's like, oh man, there's so many like tangents because like I'm such like there's so many like little things when you like look at enough character designs that people make, like, oh, here's my take of a character, and they add like the fingerless gloves or like they make the costume look more realistic, and it's like, what's the point of doing all that? I guess if you want to do more of a grounded kind of story, but it's kind of like, I don't know, not a really big fan of it. But what I was gonna say is that this guy got a lot of shit for this design, and not just the design, but he apparently was co-writing some sort of origin story for this version of Superman, right? And in his version, Superman is not like an alien that resembles a human. What Superman is like a parasite. And he comes from a species of parasites that go through like the cosmos and go inside other species and absorb their intelligence because of some sort of supreme collection of intelligence kind of thing they're doing, yada yada. And what happened to this?
So he's Brainiac?
I was
kinda, yeah. Basically, I guess.
There's also a Superman villain called Parasite.
Right.
Oh, I love Parasite.
Parasite's pretty good. But this guy, like, yeah, so that's the angle, right? So what happened is that these alien parasites crashed on the Kent family farm. The crash killed Pa Kent, but there was like an adult parasite that like took over his body, and the younger parasite took over Clark Kent's body. But Clark doesn't remember that he's a parasite because it happened to him when he's so young, which is kind of interesting. I don't know why he decided not to let the character remember that this traumatic thing happened to them, but whatever.
Well, that would be too different.
Yeah, that'd be too different,
like.
Which is weird because there's like a lot of like there's a lot of angles here that are very like different, but that's like, oh well, we still gotta keep him Superman, right? And I'm like, yeah, but it feels a little too like square peg and round hole, I mean, I don't know. I think it's fine. If people dig it, it's fine. I have no problem with that origin, really. But what's funny is that then I saw a bunch of quote tweets because so the thing that made me check out the controversy that happened was that I saw him tweet out like a couple days later saying like, I'm really sorry for anyone who found my Superman redesign offensive. I not intend for that. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, how is this offensive? And I like looked through the quote tweets, and the thing is like, the main thing I saw, and I think this might be the thing, people are saying like, so you're saying that immigrants are parasites?
Well,
that's like
damn.
That's like an interaction that a black person expects when there's a police officer in the room.
It's very
worst case scenario, the worst thing you can come up with.
That's a very Twitter thing too. Like
that's like the perfect the fucking pancake tweet. Hang on, let me find this. You all know what I'm talking about if you're on Twitter for like more than 4 minutes.
When you post it, I'm gonna like, oh wait. I know the one you're talking about where it's all like, I love pancakes. Oh, so you hate waffles?
I hate waffles? Like, no, I didn't fucking say
that's
that.
That's a whole nother statement.
No, bitch.
It's like
My Superman's origin story is that he's a parasite. It's like, so you think immigrants are parasites, huh? It's like, no.
It's very. I didn't even think of that at all. I just thought like, oh, this is like he's trying to be edgier, I guess. Like it's weird because like this, I would have guessed the Superman's like a parasite from looking at him.
I did wonder why his eyes were yellow.
Oh.
In the for the Superman like costume design.
Mm-hmm.
Now that you've mentioned the parasite thing, maybe that's why.
That's
that
probably
sense.
Yeah, because apparently like there's if you go for the thread, there's like a design of what the parasite looks like, and it's kind of like, oh yeah, it's the human body's like a flesh suit, and this thing is just filling the inside of it, and it's like
okay, like the body is a flesh suit or the Superman costume.
The body is a flesh suit, but what the parasite does in order to protect itself is that it makes the human body stronger, right? And that's how he has these Superman powers. I don't know. I would have never guessed that he's like a parasite from looking at him, but I guess that's the angle. You're not supposed to know that he's a parasite, right? So yeah, the whole like comment of like, though you're saying immigrants are parasites is very
that is crazy.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that.
Don't envy him because obviously he doesn't think that,
right?
Or maybe he does.
He's like non-malicious. He's like from most that I gather, he's kind of a centrist on a lot of things, which is whatever. But it's just so funny. Like I didn't even think of that. Like, oh, I don't think that's what he's saying.
The more I hear about this guy's design, the more I just wish Max Landis like wasn't in his prior conduct with other people creep weirdo, because his Superman is really good, and that's the one that I want to see more of.
I think yeah.
I don't have any frame of reference for Max Landis Superman.
I actually liked his.
Actually, wait. I think I've seen that one panel.
He did what was it called, American Alien, and from what I read of that, I thought it was pretty good so far. Other than that, I know Max Landis used Daddy's money to make like a Superman play that's like his fan fiction, and I have
Justice League, but yeah,
I have not had the chance to watch it, but it's probably really good. It's probably 10 out of 10.
That's like that sounds like something to watch in a Discord call.
Yeah, definitely. One of these days we'll do that.
It's pretty serendipitous that this podcast would start by bringing up Superman, because I just so happened to have gotten a crash course on Superman recently. I actually read several issues of the Superman comics from a few weeks ago, actually.
Well, now I gotta ask, which Superman comic?
Okay, so it was a trade. It was a trade of like a compilation. Let me see if I can find it. It was called. It's a pretty famous book.
Is it All-Star Superman?
No, it wasn't All-Star Superman. It was the compilation was called The Greatest Stories Ever Told. I think it came out in like 2006, and it's basically a run, almost like a greatest hits album.
Oh, nice.
Of like several Superman stories going all the way back from like the 50s or 30s or wherever the fuck Superman started.
Does it have the freaking the one that does it have the one story Alan Moore wrote about where like the alien flower is on his chest? And
no, I don't think so.
Justice League episode.
That one isn't looked upon very fondly. I think most people prefer the Justice League adaptation.
Is that true? Well, I think the Justice League adaptation, there's a couple things it does better because it.
That's the one Dwayne McDuffie wrote, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was written by Alan Moore. The original comic was written by Alan Moore.
Yeah. I was talking about the Justice League episode.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, in the Justice League episode, it was written by Dwayne McDuffie. And it was one of the. It's like probably one of the only pieces of media adaptations based on Alan Moore's work where Alan Moore wanted his name on the episode because he's
according to McDuffie, Alan Moore actually liked it, which is very high praise.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Uh, let me see. I wish I could find like I don't have the book on me right now because I let my brother lend it, or I lended it to my brother for a bit because I finished reading it.
Nice.
I know it had one. It had the Superman. I think it was like Superman Man of Steel, which was like the '80s reboot they did after Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Nice.
It had this one that I actually really liked. I think it was from like the '70s or something, where it's pretty funny. Like, you know, it's got like that like old comic book cheese, but it still kind of made me go like, oh, well, that's actually kind of good. Where it's Superman and Lex Luthor agree to do like this battle on like a remote planet to like decide who is really like the better, like the better person or whatever, something like that.
Yeah.
And they choose a remote planet because then Superman one of his powers, and it like starts out as like this fight. And then, like, eventually they kind of get separated from each other in the scuffle, and like Lex Luthor discovers this, the home civil, like the fauna of the planet, like the people that live there, and through like some sort of action, he ends up becoming like friends with them or like a hero of some sort. Because he knows he can like get like water to them in some sort of way. I'm not explaining this that well, but the point is that like they end up revering him, and then like when Superman shows up, they don't like him because Lex Luthor doesn't like him, and what ends up happening is that Lex needs Superman's help to help these people because he's grown he's grown like empathy for them because they like him so much, and he's like not used to people liking him. So in exchange for throwing the fight and going back to Earth, Superman agrees to help them, or like he like some sort of way like gets Superman to help Lex out. And it's a really sweet story, actually.
No, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah, I'd recommend finding this paperback because it was good, and it wasn't that expensive. I think I paid like $10 for it.
Oh yeah.
I got it though because it had this story in it that's called it's pretty famous, I guess. What's so funny about truth, justice, and the American way? That was like the last story in it, and that one was really good.
That one sounds
was
familiar.
Yeah, it's like I forget who wrote it, but it was in, I think it was like the late 90s or something, or maybe like literally 2000 or 2001, even before 9/11. But basically, like the premise in this like basically condensed issue is that Superman is getting upstaged by these like super cool new edgy heroes who like kill people.
Oh yeah.
And it like the struggle is like, should Superman be so like, are his ways outdated, and are like the new heroes like kind of like gonna overshadow him? And it has a pretty good message at the end, I think.
Is this the one with does that one have what's his name, Magog, in it?
No. Okay, so I'm actually reading Kingdom Come right now, and that one has Magog in it. I'm only halfway through it, but it's pretty interesting so far because it's basically like it's actually pretty similar to What's So Funny About Truth, Justice,
right?
Where like it's years later, and like superheroes are so commonplace and like mundane that they don't really help people anymore. They just kind of like cause so much collateral damage that people are just kind of sick of them. But like the old heroes
of superheroing,
basically, yeah. But like the old heroes are still revered, but they kind of don't really do much anymore. And it's basically about Superman kind of coming out of retirement and getting the gang back together for some sort of unseen threat. I haven't finished it yet, but the art's really good. It's Alex Ross who draws it.
That's up there with one of those like really I think the really iconic collection of like Alex Ross comics. I think if you should read you should read Marvel, which is another Alex Ross comic where it's like recaps like the history of Marvel comics for the point of view of like a news reporter who was there like when the technically the first Marvel superhero was the Human Torch, and he was there
wait, what is this? What is it called?
Marvels.
Oh, Marvels. I thought you said Marvel. I was like, I think I know that one.
That's another one.
I don't.
You don't talk about that one.
I've seen the Linkara review. Okay, let me tell you a thing or two about Marvel.
Oh man, look, look on this podcast we respect Linkara on this podcast. This is a Linkara respecter podcast. That being said, I disagree with him on his take on martial law. I like martial law. I think martial law is a great comic.
He doesn't like martial law.
He doesn't like martial law. He because his thing is like he doesn't see the point of like creating like anti-heroes of like he doesn't see the point of like there's no point of like doing superheroes gone bad, because when a superhero goes bad, they're just a super villain. And I'm like, that's like a dumb take. Because it's very like...
I mean, Linkara is a very...
Does he watch Breaking Bad and just go, I don't know why I'm watching any of this. These are all just bad people.
I guess it's like why still call yourself a superhero if you're doing bad things, but not realizing that's the satire? You know, that's like what they're trying to say. You know, it's like a commentary on like stuff like being a fucking cop, you know? And I think a lot of thing about like,
well, Linkara was at one point
a conservative,
a self-proclaimed conservative, so you could see why maybe the message might not come through.
Yeah, he probably.
This is a really cool cover though.
Oh yeah.
I might have to check this out.
Yeah, it goes pretty hard.
Sorry for all the cape shit.
No, it's fine. I like talking about. Speaking of cape shit, I just I talked about this probably a couple of podcasts ago, but there's a cartoonist I follow named Tom Scioli, and he's done a lot of like really good comics that I'm a fan of. One of my favorite comics he's ever done is called Transformers vs. G.I. Joe, because the comic is very out there and crazier. Like you hear that you hear that title and you think like, yeah, the Transformers, the G.I. Joes, you know, they fight each other, and it's like, nah, it's much more complicated than that. It's like it's more about finding out about the origin point between humans and Transformers, and this overly complicated story about Cybertron, and like it goes into a lot of loops, because Tom Scioli is he's a very like nerdy guy, but he's also kind of low key like crazy when he goes with his ideas, because he'll just throw everything against the wall. And even if he has like an idea for something, he'll do it in a comic. Like he was doing like a DC comic, and he was co-writing it with Gerard Wade, by the way. And
oh yes, yeah,
yeah, and he had a bunch of like crazy ideas that didn't make it into the book, but he was talking about like yeah, you know, and I'll make Robin, I'll make him just look like Milhouse from The Simpsons. He'll just look just like him, and he's Robin. And and Joker's hideout is just Pee-wee's Playhouse. It's these ideas didn't make it into the book, but it's just like if you read enough of his comics, it feels very like, yeah, this guy knows a shitload about comics and all that like history, and he'll like, but he was also like a kid in the 90s, and he has like this weird kind of like, I don't know how to explain it, but he's a really cool guy. And recently he did a Stan Lee biography, and it's like, this is following up his Jack Kirby biography that he did last year. That was also pretty good. And the Stan Lee biography, it's apparently getting a little bit of controversy because people think he's like
to like whitewash his image or something.
Well,
I know that's like a pretty big talking point these days.
It's like
I don't know where I
the opposite, more like it. But because recently, and it's so funny because like when I bought the comic at the store, the guy at the cash register said like, oh, did you read his Jack Kirby book? And I'm like, yeah, I read his Jack Kirby book. And he's all like, yeah, this book is pretty good. It's way better than the Disney Plus documentary they made about Stan Lee. Because from what I heard is that Disney Plus documentary really just doubles down on like, oh yeah, Stan Lee invented all the characters. Right.
That's awful.
Yeah, and what I like about his the name of this book is called I Am Stan Lee. And basically it's interesting because it's more like everything, any event that like Tom Scioli could, that the evidence that this is a real thing that happened, he just puts all these events in like chronological order, and he doesn't tell you what to think of these events, but he'll add like every little thing, and it kind of paints a very interesting picture about Stan Lee, because Stan Lee was kind of like one of those kids who like was so smart they moved them a couple grades up, you know. So when he should have been in middle school, he was like in high school, right? And his mom thought of him as like, his mom considered him his favorite, and like would like always.
You could say I was like Professor X.
Right, basically. And it keeps like every little like weird thing he's done. Like there's one moment where this is like pre-Marvel era, but he was like working for, back when the company was called Timely. He was give me a second. He would like one day bring like a whip, and he'd start like whipping the artist and be like, "Ha, get to work, guys!" And
oh my god!
And this would be kind of like, this is just him doing a little prank, but all the artists are kind of like
Stan.
Well, I'm pretty sure that's what Stan thought was going on. Like he thought like, oh, that's Stan Lee, he's a character. But the artists were like, yo, dude, calm down, don't do that again. And
sounds to me like Stan Lee was actually just neurodivergent.
Probably neurodivergent and a minor, but
yeah, literally, he was literally 29, guys. Okay,
and there's also like little moments where like, because how I think Tom Scioli does a really good job in covering those like moments where like, because like the more contentious parts are like, okay, what did Stan Lee specifically come up with? And what did other people come up with, right? So when Tom Scioli knows what Stan Lee didn't make, he'll make it like very obvious in the story. But when it's like muddied because like this is a bunch of old guys like trying to remember who came up,
she said stuff,
right? Exactly. So what he does is that he'll draw like, and he does this several times in the comic where he draws like the characters talking, but none of the word balloons are like connecting to who's saying it, you know, like they're just throwing ideas out like, oh,
that's pretty smart.
Yeah, like
this just came out.
Yeah, it just came out.
like last week. Yeah. I thought this was like a month old or something.
Nah, and oh man, talking about not sugarcoating it, he keeps, because I'm a patron for Tom Scioli on Patreon, and he would post like pages of the book.
Oh really? Okay.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, as it was coming out. And there was like one story that like he posted on his Patreon, and I was like, oh, I wonder if he's gonna put this in the book, because it really makes Stan Lee look like a real piece of shit. And he did, and it was in the book, so I'm really glad. But the story was that like Stan Lee, like he's like working, he's back there typing up in the typewriter, and this one artist who's all like, hey, remember Stan how I asked earlier about getting back my original art? And he's all like, wait, give me a second, I'm finished the script.
Oh, I've heard of this.
Yeah, basically, and just for the listener, basically, Stan Lee is all like, yeah, I'll give you back your original art. And he pulls out his original art, grabs a Sharpie, draws a huge X over it, and gives it to the guy. He's like, oh, here you go. And it's like, damn, like, and I think what also a interesting thing that like Tom Scioli does is that he doesn't like, when he's not exactly sure what the intentions were with the actions, he won't show a character's face, you know, to not give the impression that here's like, I know Stan Lee did this, but I don't know if this was like because he was incredibly fucking cruel or something, you know. And he very like, yeah, he kind of throws it all in there, and it's kind of like Stan Lee is a very complicated figure in a comics history. But to connect this back to like when we were talking about Superman earlier, there's like a funny part in the comic where it's like the first time the creators of Superman try to like sue DC Comics and they failed. And after that they go to Marvel, and when one of them shows up to Marvel, Stanley's like, yo, you know who this guy is? Yo, this guy basically started our industry. We wouldn't be nothing without this guy. And then he's all like, hey Stan, yeah, I'm interested in writing for Marvel now, you know, and Stan's all like, ooh, yeah, all we have is proofreading jobs right now, so I don't know if you'd be interested in doing that. And it's so funny because I've heard that story before, because other like creators have done like their parody comics of Stanley, and basically those stories pop up there, but like, you know, they make him look like way more like a fucking jerk because of it. But it's just so funny that like, oh, this is just stuff that people like kind of knew happened. But now here's like kind of like a book that just collects all those moments, and it even has like up until he dies, like it has the whole thing where like he's like fucking like out of breath, and they're recording him, and he's all like, "Hello there, true believers. People are saying that so and so is like manipulating me, and he's forcing me to like say whatever he wants, but it's not true. That's not what's happening." And then off screen, you can hear someone say, "Hey, can you promote the product?" And then Stanley says, "I'm not doing that." That's in the book too. So just every like little thing, you know. The only thing that isn't is Stanley's like final cameo in the MCU. That didn't make it into the book, which I thought was kind of interesting because all the other cameos make it.
What was the final cameo?
Avengers Endgame.
Oh.
Where he
Well, what about the Teen Titans Go cameo? The legendary Teen Titans Go cameo.
Well, that I was very upset that Teen Titans Go cameo was not in the book. It was not there.
It's fucked up.
But that whole era where like Stanley was trying to make like an animated series based on the Backstreet Boys if they were superheroes, that's in the book.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, this sounds like this is a must buy.
Did they mention what?
Hero Man.
They did not mention Hero Man. But there was one part of the book where Stanley watches like the 70s Spider-Man show, like they show him the pilot, and he's all like, "This is garbage, like this is garbage." Like the Spider-Man heart and soul is that he's like a quippy guy, you know, he's a smart talker, you know, and this guy, he doesn't do none of that. He's boring. And then the next page he watches the pilot for the Tokusatsu Spider-Man, and everybody in the room is all like, "This is so fucking weird. What the fuck?" Like this is so.
It's like they got it. They got Spider-Man.
Basically Stanley loved the Toku Spider-Man. He's like, "Oh, this is great. This is bombastic. This got action." And it's just that little like. And I think what's great is that you see that like transformation of Stanley becoming like the guy that guy who is like, "Hey there, true believers. You want this exciting tale of the Fantastic Four coming at you from Jolly Jack Kirby and Stan the Man Lee," and you know, it's all that shit.
He turns into the caricature in real time.
Yeah, basically, like, and you see like all the little like details. Him like how he came up with Excelsior. He was watching like Rocky and Bullwinkle, and they say that, and he's all like, "Hey, I should have a little."
I'm gonna take that.
And what's so funny, and also what's kind of smart, is that he says that like, "I need a saying, something that other people can't imitate. It's got to be something that's like, oh, people know Stan Lee says that," and it's like, oh, he chooses Excelsior because no one else fucking says that, right? It's a pretty good book. I recommend it. The Jack Kirby one's good too, and I think both books go hand in hand. Like if you read the Jack Kirby one, once you go on to the Stan Lee one, you know, a lot of like details, and they cross over because like. Jack Kirby met Stanley when he was like a teenager because his like uncle once removed owns the company that owns the comic company that Jack Kirby was working at, and like a little kid Stan Lee was like the office boy there, right? And like he would get them lunch and everything, and there's this kind of like one event that both books have this event because it's so weird, where Stanley, when he was a kid, he was in the office and he was playing his fucking ocarina like really loud and just annoying people. Right, exactly. And they're like, get that kid out of there. And there's like another event that also is very kind of like, is this like foreshadowing to what eventually would happen with the relationship with Stanley and Jack Kirby. But something very particular was that back in the day, like people would like work at comic companies, but like secretly they would work at other companies just to make more money, you know? So, and that's what Jack Kirby and Joe Simon, who's the co-creator of Captain America, that's what they were doing on the side while they were working at Timely. They were working for DC too, like they were making like DC comics. And Stan Lee, when he was a teenager, stayed late one night at the office, and he saw them doing that, and he's like, "Hey, what are you guys up to?" And he's all like, "Don't worry about it. Like we're just like kids, keep this between us." And then like the next day, Jack Kirby and Joe Simon got fired, right? and the book doesn't say both books don't say that Stan Lee snitched, but all these books are doing is that these events happened like literally one after the other, you know. So and there's like a lot of that. There's like a lot of moments where it's like, oh, someone does something and then like Stan Lee reacts, but it's not that they're saying that he deliberately did that because of the thing that happened. It's more like this happened right after. So if you think they're connected, they could be, or they could not be, you know. And I think that's what like kind of I think that's like the safe way to make a book like this, you know. And I think if you're the kind of person who consumes like a lot of Stan Lee documentaries and shit like that, you're probably gonna think this book is shitting on Stan Lee because like you probably never heard anyone be this like kind of like just upfront and like not critical, but just kind of like these are the things that Stan Lee did. Like this, all this stuff that I'm presenting are things that we know for a fact happened to Stan Lee and the things he did to other people, you know? And like, well, if you think he's a piece of shit because of that, that's up to you. But we know he did these things, right?
Does Tom Scioli ever like lay out his sources?
Yeah, at the end of the book, he does.
Okay.
Yeah, so everything is like backed. He backs up the sources. He always says he also says stuff like this is not affiliated with like the Stan Lee estate, you know, just to get that out of the air.
Yeah.
Right. They wouldn't like want this. It kind of reminds me of what's that movie coming out about the fucking what is it, Elvis's like wife and how she was treated, and the Elvis estate is like
the Sofia Coppola.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. But yeah, that's what I read recently.
Well, it sounds interesting. I'll see if it's in a store.
Oh yeah,
I have a bookstore that's like literally 5 minutes away from my house, so maybe I'll see if they have it.
Since moving, I'm like way closer to the comic store, so it's like, oh, maybe I can actually buy some books now.
I had a buddy, an internet buddy, come over this past weekend to hang out, and I took him to like all of the like comic book stores that are unique to like San Diego, you know, like just to like, oh, like you're not going to be able to see this store where you're from because it's very particular to the city, you know. And that was like that was at least like maybe 4 different stores, and it wasn't too bad. I'm blessed to live in a city with like a lot of these kind of like different kinds of nerd stores, you know. What's also great is that you could find like the same kinds of like figures or toys like cheaper at another store, you know. Like I found these little mini like Chainsaw Man figures that are like $4 cheaper than like other fucking stores, and it's beautiful, really. And I've been a huge trinket head as of late. I've been hourglass pilled. You guys into hourglass? You guys big hourglass heads?
Like the actual object, or is there some sort of app called Hourglass?
I'm gonna take a picture of it, but I'll show you what I mean.
He's talking about actual hourglasses.
So basically,
we had like this brass hourglass when I was a kid. I liked playing with it because it reminded me of Zelda.
and you're like, whoa! I'm unlocking this dungeon with a puzzle.
It's like a Zelda puzzle in real life. Oh my god! Because that's all I could do as a kid.
Yeah. So my buddy, when he came,
so this
is my new obsession. It's this hourglass. So basically, my buddy, when we went to the zoo, and it was pretty fun. That gotta say though, I really do think the zoo doesn't own all the animals they claim they own. You know, you ever been to the zoo and like more than half the animals are like behind rocks? Or like you only see like their leg or their tail, and you're like, "This is so cool." I'm so happy I saw a bit of that tiger. You know, that being
so you think that like they just have like empty exhibits?
Oh yeah,
that just never have the lions.
Yeah, for some of them, it's more like easier to get away than others. Like we went to like the reptile house and the little insect house, and they have a lot of the insects that camouflage. So it's like, okay, well, you could probably get away with that. because like
they're not supposed to be seen. That they're just doing their job.
Right, exactly. I'll say this: the two types of animals that were like that were really front and center, and were kind of like, yes, I got a good look at these animals. Were the turtles? All the turtles, always out. They were active.
Yeah.
They were swimming. They were walking. Even the huge slow ones, like they were out and about. Like, yes, I got a good look at the turtles. All the turtles, every kind of turtle.
Fuck yeah!
If the exhibit had a turtle, you saw that turtle. And the monkeys. I think the monkeys were also the more active ones. I saw every monkey. Well, every monkey exhibit that we encountered, the monkeys were there. They were doing their monkey business. I was thinking about how like Christians say stuff like, "Wow, you really believe we came from monkeys?" And it's like, I hope we came from fucking monkeys. Monkeys are fucking great. It's beautiful that we're related to these guys. You know, it's so fucking cool. You know, it's like being related to a cartoon character. It's like being related to someone famous. Oh, man. The gorillas were there. They were just chilling. But yeah, anyway, this hourglass, which was I brought up earlier, my buddy bought it for me as a thank you for taking him to the zoo. And I just been obsessed with it. We timed it out. It only, like, keeps track of, like, 7 minutes. So every time I like turn it over, it's like, okay, cool, 7 minutes have passed. And it's like pink, it's like goo, two of my favorite things. And this has been my hourglass review. Like and subscribe.
Oh, it's like one of those. Yeah, I've seen these before,
Mm-hmm.
where like it's like the hydrophobic like goo stuff that kind of like
Mm-hmm.
I've seen this.
I've been really like
I love this shit.
I've been really getting into trinkets as of late. I think it's been I think it's what I get into because recently I've been really into like just collecting figures. And when there's no like figures I'm super interested in getting, I start like looking at little trinkets and I'm like, "Oh, this is very weird or unique." I'm taking it, you know. And they just been littering my fucking desk like I'm a child. I do have a proper display for all my figures, and I'm in it pretty deep. I'm even buying like the little kind of like stands, the little kind of like circle stands where you get that have the pegs and you can put the figure on it so it stands still and doesn't fall over. I've been buying those too. And what's interesting is that a lot of the places that sell those, they even like treat those as collectibles as well, because they'll put special like stands that are kind of like, oh, this is the blue one, and this one, each package has like a different color, and you have to collect them all.
Are these like specific like figure maker stands?
Yeah, the one that I'm talking about are by a company called Super 7, and they have
Oh, okay.
yeah, it's a pretty cool company. They have their store here in my city. They have one of their store. Their main headquarters is in San Francisco, right?
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. It's a pretty neat store. The guy who runs the store in my city, he's a buddy of mine, and they have this chalkboard where they let like artists write on, well, draw on. They kind of like advertise the store, and he let me do that. I drew like a big Hedora on it because they had Hedora figures.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, Hedora's pretty good, top tier. What was I gonna say? Yeah, pretty good, pretty good. You guys into figures? You guys big figure heads?
Yes, I have many. I was actually looking around my room while you were talking to kind of assess the situation here. I have. I don't want to bore people because talking about what figures I have on an audio podcast, this isn't that cool. But for the sake of the podcast, I'll just point out one I have. It's Long Gone Gulch. Do you know about that? There's a cartoon pilot that came out a few years ago now. Well, I have a figure of Rawhide that they were selling, I think, like a few years ago, from like this like small figure making
cool.
like company called like Sculptuggery or something.
Your Rawhide head.
So it's, well, it was the only one they were selling at the time, but yeah, I like Rawhead.
I like Rawhead.
I'm a fan of some Rawhead. But they actually they were actually selling a snag one a few months ago. I actually picked that one up too, so that should be coming at some point.
Nice.
So she'll no longer be alone.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
So that'll be cool.
Damn.
Besides that, I just have the typical like anime shit. Oh, actually, all right, one more. I got this at secondhand at a local store once, just like out of the blue. They just started carrying figures all of a sudden, and it's the Sentinel robot from the Matrix. Like, those squid octopus monsters that like break into the Nebuchadnezzar.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have a figure that it's fucking huge, and the tentacles have like steel wire in them, so they're like you can like articulate them in like any sort of way. It's really cool.
Damn, that's neat. How old is that figure? Did that like come?
It was from like the Matrix Reloaded era. It's a McFarlane toy.
Damn, that's crazy. I've been
yeah. It's a vintage.
I've been getting really big into collecting Soundwave's figures because he just looks really cool to me. And
I like Soundwave.
I think he also has kind of like the consistently like good looking figures. Because it's like I was gonna make a tweet about this saying like, oh, can you think of a character that looks good as a Funko but also as a model kit? Because that would be Soundwave. He's like one of the few characters that can look good in both directions.
Yeah.
In both fucking genders. But you reminded me with Long Gone Gulch. I saw on Twitter that there was like some back and forth going with someone talking about how it was one of those, those like engagement tweets where it's kind of like post an opinion.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Post an opinion that'll get you this reaction, and it's fucking chained up Patrick. It changes. There's always a new version of that.
Quote tweet me, please. One of those X opinion. I think I know what you're talking about.
I hate
like
those.
someone just said like, don't make a pilot. Or don't start with a pilot, rather.
Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, true. Don't make a pilot. And I did see a lot of people in the comments being like, oh, but like, what if like, but you gotta like, but like, what if you want to get people into and it's like I don't know like what to tell you. Why do you think Long Gone Gulch has taken like too long for anyone to be interested in it as a series?
Yeah, it took 5 years, I think, to come out.
And
but
how long has it been since it come out?
It came out, I think, like either 2021 or 2023. So, like, yeah, no, it and I don't think anything came of it, even though it was good.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that I think that tweet was like coming from the angle of like trying to break into the industry, whereas like the creators of Long Gone Gulch were like already people who worked on animation already, and this was just like I think a way of trying to get like an original project off the ground. And I don't know if it necessarily worked or not, but I'm sure they're appreciative of the experience regardless. Because like, well, I follow them on Twitter. Tara
and Zach.
She worked on the clone. Yeah, Zach and Tara worked on the Clone High reboot recently, and I know they also worked on those like Mickey Mouse cartoons. So they've like gotten work before.
Oh yeah, they're
When I say Mickey Mouse cartoons, I mean like the more modern ones. For anyone confused, they didn't work on fucking Steamboat Willie.
Thank.
Too bad.
Yeah, no. Damn, they've been around then. They've been around for a good fucking while then. I wish there was a way. I wonder if there's a way I could like finagle myself into a situation where I can pitch a series. Not because I actually want a series, but mostly just to gain the experience of doing that. Because I feel like that'd be incredibly insightful. You just
gotta wait for the Adult Swim pitch show to come back.
Oh yeah, it's coming back, guys.
Since you know the secrets.
Oh, it's coming
back, guys. Just you wait, guys.
I'm tempted to.
Any day now.
I'm tempted to update that video because I feel like I can approach it differently and be a little bit more thorough. Because a part of me was also like, and I mean, you probably get this too, where it's like there gets a point where it's like I just want to finish this video, right?
Yeah.
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 So there's like stuff you like overlook, but yeah, basically, I can wait for that, or like, damn, because maybe if I just call up enough people. I was listening to like a video talking about the history of like a music producer. I think his name is like Benny Blanco or something. And apparently he's like very like he wrote a lot of like popular hits, like recent hits. Um, and apparently at one point he was like just like hitting up everyone with any like inclination of a music connection, and he would like do do kind of like the stuff where he would pretend to be other people just to get people's like numbers, you know. And I wondered,
he was finessing people,
yeah, yeah, and I mean, eventually he got like the name of people who helped them out, you know. And I'm like thinking, like, I wonder if I could, how would I do that? Like, how would I like call up someone at Cartoon Network to kind of like schedule myself to show up with like a pitch, you know, like, oh yeah, I'm a so and so, I need this and that number for this and this, and they'll be like, oh okay, just to see if I can get there.
I think you would start with the parent company 1st and then work your way down to Cartoon Network. Like that would be your way in.
Oh fuck it.
Oh,
How can we run around now?
Blanco was mentored for several years by songwriter and producer Dr. Luke.
Oh no.
Ooh, that's rough.
Oh no, I heard about that guy. Isn't he the Taylor Swift guy?
No, that's Scooter Braun. Dr. Luke is the Kesha guy.
Oh, okay.
Basically, like fucked her life over. Yeah, essentially.
That fucking
is a piece of shit.
That reminds me about the whole I think I mentioned this. I might have mentioned this before. It's like, if you're thinking of becoming a YouTuber that's gonna get into a lot of drama and controversy, give yourself the most silliest name you could think of. Because
yeah, like Dubus Goobus.
Yeah, like Dubus Goobus. Because once you get into like controversy, people are not gonna take it seriously because your name is just too fucking silly. I was talking to I was in a voice call, and like I had that moment where I had the unironical moment where it's like, oh, you guys heard about the drama between Ghetto Smosh and Dubus Goobus? And someone's all
I'm like, we're all too online. It's time to stop. Let's just why don't we adjourn for now? We'll come back tomorrow with our heads refreshed. All right.
Basically,
grass touched.
That's how everyone react. Everyone laughed and be like, "What the fuck are you saying? Did you make up? You made up those names? Those are not real people." And
it's kind of like when you're in a conversation with an older person, and anytime there's a moment of silence, they can't help themselves. They're like, Bueller, and it's like, oh my god, are you seriously doing that right now?
I wish my coworkers were like internet poisoned, because they're too normal. They talk about cars and how attractive they find strangers, and I'm like, damn, like I just want to talk about like
Dubus Goobus.
I want to talk about Dubus Goobus. I want to talk about losers online, dude. I want to talk about.
I need someone to tell me about Philip DeFranco because I don't follow Philip DeFranco anymore.
Right, exactly. I need someone to update me on Ethan Klein. I don't want to check. I love it when something big on the internet happens and I tell myself, "Oh, I can't wait till a YouTuber just covers this in a video so I don't have to pay attention." That's how it was with me with a fish tank. While that was happening, I was like, "Oh, I can't wait till someone makes like an hour-long video just fully explaining the fish tank situation, so I don't have to pay attention to it."
I still don't know what fish tank is.
It's just Big Brother.
It's like Big Brother, but edgier and more poorly managed. But that was on purpose, actually. Yeah, basically.
So it's Big Brother for the internet.
Yeah, Big Brother for the internet. It seemed like fun. Can't wait for the next video where someone covers the next. They said they wanted to do another fish tank. Fish Tank 2. Electric Boogaloo. Speaking of which, there's a part of me of like, I know I said like don't make a pilot, but there's a part of me who like thinks like there's a I think a better way to like make a pilot, but not. I think the key is to not make a pilot for not make a pilot for like a big corporation. because like the problem is that like corporations think once you have the pilot, that means you're too like concrete on your side on your ideas, right? And they can't like make their suggestions or like the things about
Yeah.
like what you need to change, you know. But I think it's fine to make a full pilot if your intention is to make like an internet series, you know. Um, but how?
Well, yeah, that isn't that the Vivzy Pop method. Just happened to get lucky with the A24 deal.
Yeah, and I think another one that's probably like if there's like a way you probably want to do it is probably on Newgrounds. There's like a series called Sublo and Tangy Mustard, and that's been going on for a while. And I'm pretty sure just one guy who does that.
Yeah.
Right? He did like the initial video, people liked it, and then he's like, okay, well, time to do more. The tough thing is that people need to also kind of accept when an idea is like not gonna work out and people aren't gonna really like it, and it's like, am I gonna spend this much time on something that just meant for me? That's not gonna make me any money. That could take me time out of things where I actually can make money. You know, like that's like a whole conversation you have to have with yourself. Because I've seen a couple of like indie projects or like oh, this is our pilot, and I watch it and I'm like, yeah, this is not good. This is not good. I'm not a big fan of you guys heard of what Boxtown?
Oh yeah.
That sounds
It's
familiar.
a musical now.
It's a musical now.
Okay,
Yeah.
never mind. I don't know this.
I'll post a picture of what it looks like. Nothing against the people who made it. I'm pretty sure that I know they're all talented people. I know they're all great people. They're all experienced people. Yada yada.
This show looks like dog water.
Yeah, the show does not look good. I look at the show and I'm like, who is this for? Because it's like, it looks like a Gravity Falls like, you know, but also they say fucking shit like adults, you know.
Yo, all right, hang on, I'm on board. And the only thing that could put me over in this project is if I know this is a long shot, but like maybe if they like singed too, I don't know.
You know, it's so funny.
But that's a long shot. There's no way that's happening. That guy why does that guy just look like handsome SpongeBob?
I don't know.
The guy on the right.
I don't like the little kid. I don't like the little kid's eyes. I think that the eyes just throw me off so hard. This feels like two characters from two different shows. And if this was like your own series where it's just you and it's like, oh, this is for me, it's fine. There's a lot of great pieces of work online where it's like someone just made this for themselves, and I think that's beautiful. I think that's like a real artist. But when you're trying to like, I don't know. I remember someone.
Whoa, wait, he got Alex Hirsch and Tara Strong.
Oh yeah, they did. They're on the team, baby.
Zam.
But basically, they had an
Continue.
Indiegogo and it failed. So, and it's like, damn, I guess the Tara Strong, Alex Church there wasn't enough star power behind that, you know? But
I'm sure there's probably some kind of like inside baseball appeal that these characters have. Like, oh, we had so much fun designing these characters in 2004 when we were students. But now, I'm like, you gotta expand it a bit, make it appealing to other people, because I don't get it.
Yeah, they're doing the whole it like started with Flapjack, like a little kid and a mentor who's not helpful, you know. And like I think the most successful
is that Flapjack thing.
Yeah, the Flapjack was the OG to start that. Flapjack, Chowder, then Adventure Time, and Adventure.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. I'm trying to think of an example.
Flapjack started the Book of Rap, and Adventure Time finished it.
I know Flapjack is like the primordial soup of like all modern cartoons, but God, I just have to prove you wrong, you son of a bitch.
Okay, well, all right, go ahead.
You think you know cartoons? You don't know cartoons.
You think you know?
Well, in Time Squad, there's the little kid and the
how can we
buff
forget
guy.
Time Squad? Oops.
Who could forget Time
Oopsie.
Squad?
That's better than what I had in mind. I was thinking Big Guy and Rusty, and a little voice in my head said, "No, that's wrong."
That only got one
What's wrong with
season that I watched on a loop because that's all they. Yep.
It's Big Guy and Rusty.
It wasn't until I was way older that I realized, oh, Rusty's supposed to be an Astro Boy parody. Oh, I got it.
Hey, this says this got 2 seasons.
Oh, never mind. I guess I was wrong.
Oh, wait, I know this show. I remember. I think I've
I
seen a few
remember
episodes of this.
I remember Big Guy and Rusty. I think so.
I mean, I don't remember it at all, but I remember. I recognize the pictures.
So basically,
Uh,
with Boxtown.
I would just throw it all away to get Becky Prim back. I think I've just come to
Oh
that conclusion.
please! Oh Becky Prim, please come back! Oh, I think
From the dead.
I think
Becky
Get it?
Prim,
if you
go with me to prom,
I think if
please.
you want, you need to kind of like just if you're gonna do a pilot, you're gonna have to find the easiest way to do this. You know, like the most feasible way for you by yourself to do it, and you have to kind of like put your all in it. Like you have to really make this like top notch for like for people that they want. Like, oh, we want episode 2, you know, and it's a lot of there's a lot of kind of like I think there's like good and bad with the whole kind of like pitching stuff to like executive manner, and you know, like because as an artist you want to like make whatever you want to make the work that speaks to you, you know, and if and people don't fuck with it, well fuck people, you know, it's for you, it's for your soul, you know. But at the same time it's like, oh, well, if, you know, you do want to make money off of this, you know. Um say what you want about like Hell of a Boss. I look at that show and I'm like, I know who this is for. You know, like I already know right away what kind of audience they're aiming for. Um, it's like they're hitting like, oh, if you grew up on DeviantArt, this is the show for you, right? And and I think that's something you gotta kind of keep in mind when you if you want to do the whole indie art cartoon game. You know, you're gonna have to figure out how to do it with like the minimum amount of like crew members. You're gonna have to figure out a way that like you all could communicate well enough to get one of these done. But it's all about just making the first one and like it hoping if no one likes it, if no one likes that first one, you're gonna have to just move on and try something new. Even though if that first one was gonna be like, oh, here's my heart and soul, and people didn't fuck with it, and it's like, oh well, I mean, your mission was trying to make money, so you guys got to move on to the next thing you think people are gonna like, you know.
Gotta be flexible.
Mm-hmm. Right. It's just how it is. You know, pretend you have a family. Actually, you know what? You don't have to pretend you have a family because you're listening to this. You're probably like broke. I assume most people who listen to this podcast are broke, right? Because I'm broke.
Yeah, if you have more than $1,000 to your name, I'm afraid you're gonna have to unsubscribe from the Main Character Syndrome podcast.
Right. If I'm
with your tail between your legs, yeah, fucking Mr. Moneybags.
This is a fucking proletariat podcast. We don't cater to no bougie bitches out here.
The bourgeois with $1,000 in their bank account.
Yeah, with the bourgeois with the like, oh, I could afford to make a pilot. Oh, and I could afford to have a pilot that fails. Oh, it's okay. I was I was gonna say this first, but when their Indiegogo failed, and then they came back and they're all like, okay, we decided we're gonna make it into a musical. I got really upset when I heard that. I was in the grocery store too, and I was like,
fell on my knees.
And the the main reason I got upset was because I was like, damn, did you really like stop and overlook everything and ask yourself, yeah, see, the problem was it wasn't a musical. See, that's the problem, right? I'm like, I got nothing against musicals, but what I'm saying is that like, now you have like an extra layer of like stuff you got to work on, right? If it's a musical, unless you were already thinking it was going to be a musical, but you're all like, oh, I better not say it publicly. It might give people the wrong impression. So I don't know. I think there was a million better ways to go about this. I know people are probably listening in on this and be like, what does this guy know? He's never animated. He's never pitched or anything. And I was like, you're right. I've never done those things, but I'm gonna do those. I'm gonna do those things one day, and then I'm gonna have the same opinions just to spite you. That's my fucking mission in life. Not to gain new information to change my mind, but no, to gain new information to keep my same opinions, you know, just to validate it, just to act like I always knew what I was talking about.
You'll learn the skills necessary to make it so that you are never wrong.
Right, exactly. I gain more info just to make sure I could keep thinking the same way. That's really my main goal. Would you say that? Would you say you relate to that, Tech? Would you say that that's you?
I think I'm aware that I kind of march to the beat of my own drum when I make my YouTube videos, but I'm more. I make YouTube videos, by the way.
Nice.
I am aware that in a way sort of stifles any kind of growth I have with an audience, because in the YouTube sphere, the appeal to a channel is basically, from what I can gather, is getting a similar product every time. Like that, like if you watch one video from someone that's recommended to you and you see that they have a whole channel full of them, you're like, oh, cool. I'll watch all of these. Where I have a through line with my videos, but it's not consistent in a way that I think contributes to growth in the sort of like mainstream appeal way. Whereas if I just made, like, for example, I did a video recently about Team Fortress 2. If I just made Team Fortress 2 videos constantly, then I would probably see some sort of growth. Whereas I'm probably just going to make it a one and done and just move on. That said, I do know, like, I will, like, kind of bend to an extent to kind of appeal to YouTube's whims, and I've been doing that more recently by kind of playing the thumbnail game.
The open mouth pointing, Mr. Beast.
Yeah, like the thumbnail game and the titling game, because my last two videos both kind of popped off relative to my other stuff, and it's because I gave them kind of clickbaity titles. Like my last video, its original title was roasting my old TF2 weapon ideas, and I saw, like, maybe 8 hours after I uploaded it that it wasn't really getting that many views. So I decided to pull the nuclear switch and just change the name to the worst TF2 weapons ever designed, and it like went on a way higher trajectory of views. And, like, I'm aware that is slightly misleading. Not really, though, title. And, I could have gone way worse with it, but I was willing to kind of swallow my pride and appease the masses, so to speak, to bring it back to what you're talking about, for the sake of getting my art out there. If you can call my videos art. Which I would, but...
As a consumer, when I found out people were doing this, I was angry. But now that I understand that it's necessary for, like, marketing and growth on a platform that doesn't really help you market yourself, I'm over it.
It's just the game, my friends.
Yep, it's just the game. You gotta play the game, because that's...
Don't hate the player or the game.
Don't judge the game. Don't even think about it. Actually, everything's fine. You're overthinking it. What was I gonna say? That kind of reminds me of about playing the game, and it drew me back. I got a flashback to an old Digibro video where she was talking about creating her cult of personality and, like, having that follow her around everywhere, so she has, like, a consistent group of people giving her money, and I think that has worked out for her, because I think her Patreon has gone back up, because now she's just defaulted to talking about anime, just about anime. She talks about all anime all the time, right?
It worked for a really long time, like the heyday.
Yeah.
Like most former digiheads you talk to will say will say that they just really liked hearing her opinion on fucking anything. And it's true. As a former digihead,
Oh yeah, that was the mwah.
After Dark was the real main channel, etc., etc.
Yeah.
No, I agree. But was I gonna say was that I just saw a tweet recently by Hazel. If anyone knows Hazel, she's really cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I third time. I think I know what you're talking about because I also saw that tweet. We have the same time.
And the tweet was basically her saying that, like, yeah, if you become my patron, please don't DM me your personal stories. I don't want to know nothing about you. I just know that you're just giving me money and you like my stuff, and that's enough. We don't need to know anything.
I want you at arm's reach. Do not talk to me.
And I was like, that's so funny because it's like that is like the inverse of what was the old Digibro strategy, right? Because Hazel has kind of become, like, I think other people said this, and I even say it too. She's kind of like the new Digibro in the way she approaches things. Although
there's a similar appeal there. Yeah, I'd say.
Although I don't see her like screwing up her life by inviting a lot of strangers into her world, you know,
or picking up smoking weed and
oh yeah,
the whole saga.
As long as Hazel doesn't smoke weed, we're good.
Yeah, thank God.
Thank God.
I will say, not to. This is mostly a devil's advocate thing. I'm not like trying to victim blame her or anything because, like, you know, fans should fuck off if they're told. But I think her videos are very personal a lot of the time, like in a sense that like only she could have made them, right?
Yeah,
because they share a lot of personal anecdotes, and I think that almost invites this sort of relationship between you and your fans.
Mm-hmm.
That I don't think she deserves at all, but I can see why someone might try and approach her that way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, fans will do this with any fucking creator, but you know, I think there's something there.
No, I agree. Yeah, like you give out this kind of like energy of like, oh, I feel like I'm getting to know you, so you should get to know me, and it's like, oh, that's not how this works.
Yeah.
You know.
Nope. Sorry.
So
this window is one way only.
Right, the one way only window. What was I going?
It's not a mirror because you can see me. I just can't see you.
Exactly. It was like, yeah. I don't know if I'm super interested in having some sort of cult of personality. I kind of what I would want is that, like, I want that, like, oh, you see my name on something, you think like, oh, well, I gotta check this out now. And I think there's a handful of like cartoonists, comic creators out there that if I see their name on something, I just assume it's good, and I check it out, right? And I mean, you could have that with like movie directors or like shows or whatnot. Like, oh, this person was involved. You assume this is gonna be good, you know. And I
like for a while, a lot of video games would have Akira Yamaoka on the soundtrack, and it's like, I don't know shit about this game, but I'm gonna check it out for the music.
I'm gonna check out this mid game because a guy I like made one song for it. That's the Hideki Naganuma experience until very recently.
I thought you were gonna say Yick.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, that applies for Yick.
Because the one Toby Fox song in that, and then
I got the Yick soundtrack.
Oh yeah,
on vinyl.
Fuck yeah,
it's pretty good.
It's not a bad soundtrack.
I can't wait to play Yick. Big Yick fan. Can't wait to play it.
They play it for the first time. Yeah.
It's gonna be an amazing experience. I'm working.
The year is 2026. A man in California finally yicks out.
I'm like the fucking Danny DeVito clip from Always Sunny where he's crying. He's like, I get it now.
the yickening
has begun. Oh man, I tweeted this out. I tweeted something out recently, and by recently I mean last month. That like, if people just gave me $9,000, I will become a shut-in and for 6 months and make an RPG Maker game based on Pee-wee's Big Adventure. No one took me up on the offer, but I secretly did hope someone would. That was no joke. I really do want someone to just here's the amount of money. Make an RPG maker based on Pee-wee's Big Adventure. I want that to happen. I just want like a fairy godmother like situation. You get me?
The Pee-wee community deserves its own Barkley Shut Up and Jam guide in Chapter 1 of the Hoops Barkley saga.
It's so funny because I told a buddy of mine this idea, and he's all like, "Oh, you're gonna include all the deleted scenes?" And I said, "Yes, we will include Amazing Larry. Amazing Larry will be included in the RPG. All right."
That was me.
Yeah, that was you.
I was talking to somebody.
Good night, everybody.
Look, you were there. Deaf Alchemist was there too. I thought Deaf Alchemist said that. Actually, you know what? It was you, huh? You did ask about Amazing Larry.
What the fuck?
Look, I can't remember who said exactly what. That's why I just say some people or groups of people or, you know.
I just think that's so weird. Like, hey, here's a conversational anecdote. Some person has told me this.
There was 5 people. There was 5 people in that call. I can't remember what everyone said. It's, you know, sometimes to me that sounds like something that like Deaf Alchemist could have said too.
Yeah, probably.
They got that same. I'm sorry. Got that same energy. Just letting you know. But yes, Amazing Larry will be included. I will include stuff from the Pew. You should make like a Kickstarter video, and it's just me begging to the camera, please just pay my rent for the next 6 months. I will make this game. I'm not gonna like run away with the money. I promise. That's not what I'm gonna do with it. I swear there's gonna be a completed Pee-wee's Big Adventure RPG by the end of this. I swear. That's my mission. I'm not trying to run away with no fucking money at all. And, you know what I'm saying? You ever played RPG Maker? You ever tried anything with RPG Maker?
Yes, I've tried to make an RPG Maker game. Like any red-blooded American.
How
didn't get very far, but
I tinkered a lot with the PS2 version, and I have copies of all the PC versions on my person. I've just never touched them.
My RPG Maker version of choice was 2003 because that's, I think to this day it is still the only one that instead of having like the Dragon Quest first person view battles, it does the Final Fantasy like side view battles, and I always liked that. So 2003 was like the go-to.
Mm-hmm. I think that one gets recommended the most because a lot of very well-known games were made off of that one, right?
Yes, Space Funeral, I know, was made off of that. I think Lisa might have been made using that.
I did, like, the farthest that I got was that I managed to, like, do just very simple, like, I don't want to say programming, I just want to say, like, oh, I figured out how to make NPCs go in random directions when they're walking. And I also figured out how to...
Like events and stuff.
And I also figured out how to, like put Freddy Freaker in the game. And you play as him. Like, I made a very crude Freddy Freaker sprite. I don't think I have it. I think my, like, when my computer crashed, like, last year, it destroyed the Freddy Freaker file with it. So, I don't have...
I mean, hey, you made a playable avatar. You've already cleared the first hurdle.
Right, exactly. That's what made me think that, like, okay, I might have...
Most people just use the default assets, and it's like, no, what are you doing?
And I didn't even really, like, look up a tutorial to do that. I kind of, like... I kind of treat it the same way I treat math, where I don't pay attention in class, and then when I'm at home, I try to just reverse engineer, like, what they have. Like, oh, here's the character sheet. So you put this in, and then, you know, like, it's like, you pick that design of that character, and I'm like, okay, well, what if I literally just draw on it, and it's just my character, and it's now, like, a little Freddy Freaker running around. I could have made the Freddy Freaker RPG. I don't know how. It's all like in an effort to like get clout, which is the goofy enough RPG Maker to like get me like enough attention, you know. Because I think every other person is making like a goofy RPG Maker game. So.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot lately.
It's like the whole Brian Griffin smokes weed with Steven universe kind of thing, you know.
RPG Maker stock has never been higher ever since the Unity news. So.
Oh, true, huh? Yeah, that's been going on.
Do they have a version of RPG Maker where the battle system is like behind your player characters and then the enemy is in the background, but your characters are in the foreground?
You gotta finagle it to do that.
What are you trying to describe to me?
It sounds like you're doing Lisa.
There aren't a lot of games that use it, but have you ever played that Harry Potter Game Boy game? I think it's a Prisoner of Azkaban that has this view.
No, hang on. Let me find some. Is this like Guardian Heroes? Is this what you're describing, or like Golden Sun?
Golden Sun is probably
not Guardian Heroes. I forget. Shining Force has a similar looking battle system to it. Let me see if I can find this fucking. Yeah, where it's like a sort of like off to the side perspective.
Yeah.
And like Golden Sun's probably a bigger. It's probably a better example because more people know. And like all
the elements
the
dynamically like zoom in and out in time with the animations. It's very cool looking.
See, the thing is that like not even modern RPGs do this.
Yeah.
So you'll be hard pressed to find. Like this shit looked good when it came out on the GBA, like back in 2001. It still fucking looks good.
Oh yeah, this does look pretty good.
There was a PlayStation 3 game called Time and Eternity. It has a kind of like blown up version of this, but it doesn't look as good.
Of course,
it is more like highly animated because it's all just animation.
Oh wow, 2012, huh? Yuzo Koshiro did the soundtrack. Wait, did he just do one song? Is that one of these games where he does one song and they say he did the soundtrack? Interesting.
It was like,
yeah. As far as I know, most, if not all, the RPG Maker games, do the Dragon Quest-esque first person POV.
Yeah.
Battle system, which is not my favorite. Not I was always a Final Fantasy kid, so
there's a
never
way
really
to
cared for
be
it.
Creative with it, like early on, I noticed that a lot of people using the earlier engines, like games made in XP, would just replace the enemy battler with a larger, like detailed portrait, and then the portrait would change dynamically throughout the battle to reflect changes in like the quote unquote plot of the battle.
Yeah, I think Earthbound does that.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And, you know, Earthbound's a looker. I don't think that type of battle system is bad. I just like seeing my characters do stuff. Is all.
I hate to see the guy. How do I not know he's there? How do I, you know?
Yeah, exactly. You know, at least Earthbound has the decency to pop the guy up when it's his turn when you pick his move.
Mm-hmm.
Pick their move.
True. What was I gonna say? Something about I got a buddy who's actually making an RPG Maker game. I think that's what it is. He's making a game. That's gonna take a while. Apparently, it takes a long time to make a game. I have a weakness of looking at stuff.
Not if you try hard.
True. Not if you try hard. Not if you're good. If you're actually good, it takes a week, max.
Yeah, if you like get good.
Right, exactly. Dude, that's my problem is I look at something and I'm like, I bet I could figure this out in like a week. I looked at that Worthy Kids was it Rankin Bass stop motion animation that he does. I'm like, yeah, I could probably do that. I could probably figure that out in a week and I could be cranking out these cartoons. They don't look so hard. I used to.
That's something you have to like specifically like spec for because he does all of those in Blender apparently.
Oh yeah, he completely animates in Blender. Which is insane. It's crazy, but that's what makes him cool.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of those guys, and I'll say this, I think a lot of the advantages guys like that because he kind of reminds me. Worthy Kids kind of reminds me of Neil Cicierega. And in that, like, when they were a young kid, they had the advantage of like parents who would buy them like the higher end computers, or would have all this free time to experiment with the computers. you know, unlike us broke boys who couldn't do that, right? At a young age, and it's also very similar to the kid who did that one Backroom short film, and everyone was like creaming over, and like now he's gonna direct the Backrooms movie, which sounds like a bad idea in my opinion.
It's a crazy ass opportunity.
It is a crazy ass opportunity. It's fucking dreams come true. I bet the kid loves it. I bet it's gonna be great. Everything's gonna be rosy. I'm not looking forward to the Backrooms movie. If it's anything like the short film, I'm not interested. Because I am in the camp of like that shit was scarier when there was like no monster in there, and it's just these freaky ass architecture, you know.
Once everybody started making up their own monster, it's like, okay, hey, slow down.
It's I think I said this before. It's weirdly like it's like I have kind of a love hate for that, because I like, you know, it's like, oh, it's scary now because like now all these monsters have like RPG stats, you know. And it
yeah, I'm more accustomed to level 27 of the Backrooms, which is right past the Oasis of Heaven of Backrooms 24.
And
I
think it's like it's annoying that that's what's become, but also I think it's kind of beautiful because it's like, oh wow, you know, the SCP Foundation is too stingy on who gets to write an entry, so but no one owns the back room, so you could write whatever you want for that, you know. And it's kind of become this like creative like community thing, you know, like, oh, people have put their ideas and their suggestions and
I didn't
concept.
think of it that way because I do have a chip on my shoulder about the SCP people. I don't like
it's
them.
basically become like an open source kind of like creepypasta, I guess, you know.
all I know is I would be fucking pissed if I was that random ass 4chan guy who made that post about the Backrooms.
And on Hot Topic, they're selling like backroom T-shirts. Like they don't say backroom or anything, but it's just like, oh, this is obviously supposed to be like a backroom thing, you know.
Guess it doesn't pay to post anonymous.
They should let me do the back. See, the reason I'm mad because they didn't hire me to direct the Backrooms movie. I'm the right guy for the job because mine would have been super scary, and the main crux would have been that like it's a group of people get stuck in there, and there was one guy who's like, oh, this is the back rooms. Don't worry, guys. I know all the lore. I know how to get out of here, but everything he knows is wrong and inaccurate. And like the thing would be that there's like no monster, but they think there's a monster because there's all these like little what seems like hints that there's a monster, but no, there isn't a monster. And it's the structures themselves, like the constant shifting and movement. It's like the walls want to kill you, but they're not like throwing hands or anything to grab you. No, it's just like the more you go in it, the more everything kind of changes, you know. And there'd be like little crazy, and there'd be an epic twist at the end that make it'll blow everyone's mind. Everyone would be like, "Whoa, that shit's crazy." But yeah, that's my pitch. That's my pitch, Mr. Blumhouse. For the back room.
Is the twist that it was a abandoned Sears in the Mall of America the entire time?
the twist would.
Well, he's not gonna tell you the twist.
I'll say it because it's never gonna happen. But what I think would be really cool if they hear like screaming, like there's something chasing them that's screaming at them, and they're like running away from this thing constantly. It's always like at the corner, and they never get a good look at it, but they know it's like coming because it's like roaring, it's like making a noise as it gets closer, right? But then the big twist of what this thing actually is that, oh, so what happens is that if you encounter like a bottomless like pit or a hole and you fall through it, you're falling like behind like the walls of the back room, right? And you're falling forever, and your screams echo through everywhere. So when the echoes move, it sounds like somebody's chasing you, and that's what's been chasing the whole. That's what that sound was. It wasn't like a monster. It was just like people literally free falling in between walls and like screaming.
Oh wow!
Not me. I'd be different.
Not me. I would.
I'd be like, oh.
If you could pull that off, that would definitely freak people out.
Oh yeah, it'd have to be very like particular. Like, oh yeah, this and I think it'll do a good job of like emphasizing on it, like, you're alone here. There is nothing here. You are alone, and you're stuck, and you're fucked. Well, you're not fucked, but you're stuck.
You're sucked, and you're
You're
fucked,
sucked, and you're
trucked.
In my back rooms, you get sucked, and you get
glucked.
fucked. It's not scary. That's my level 69 of the back rooms where you get sucked and fucked.
Sounds like a good level.
Yeah, I
want to trade levels?
I want to get stuck on that level. There's
Heyo.
There's like a guy on.
I'm out of here. I'm going to level 120. No, don't go there. That's the level where you get cucked.
Oh.
I know.
They give you a girlfriend and then they sleep with her right in front of you. Oh, here's your girlfriend. Oh, thanks. And now we're gonna fuck her. No, don't do that.
No, this is my worst nightmare. Why did I go to this
No,
level?
truly, the back rooms is a horror that we cannot comprehend. Truly. Oh my god.
Oh, that reminds me. Does it bother you guys when I talk about all the crazy sex books I've been reading?
Is that a thing? Is that your gimmick? Because this is my first time hearing about this.
This is
I do that on the show all the time.
Yeah, Julian's sex book corner. So I wish I came up with a better name. I'm sorry.
Julian's sexy story time something. Okay, what are you fucking reading, Julian?
Speak your truth.
Yeah. Let your nuts hang.
Well, I just remembered that there's a series I've been reading, and every entry is just this lady is hanging out with her husband. Like maybe they go on a vacation, or maybe they're entertaining the husband's boss, and then the husband explicitly sets it up for her to have sex with some other guy, and it's usually like a really ugly looking guy.
Damn.
And it plays out like a normal NTR book that you would expect. Things that you expect to happen in those books happen, but also the whole time the husband is in the margins of the page, grinning and oh yeah, my wife is so hot.
I love my wife.
I love it when my wife has sex in front of me with other men. Oh,
he's like, oh, she's so cool.
She's so cool. I love it when she fucks other guys.
Yeah. I just thought that was funny. We need more books like that.
I think the key, I think I said this before, the key to enjoying NTR is to not perceive yourself as the cuck, but as the bull. And then NTR is 10 times better. Some people might be like, that's gross, because then you have to project yourself as an ugly bastard. And it's well, that shouldn't be too hard for you if you look in a mirror. Got him. I won this imaginary argument. I think I mentioned before, one of these days I will go through with it and do my Gretsuko Dojin, where Haida has a bunch of gay sex, which was my main complaint with the Gretsuko series, is that Haida was not having enough gay sex in the show. He wasn't having no gay sex, so that's what makes the show a 9 out of 10 when it could have been a 10 out of 10.
Is the show over?
Yeah, the show's over. But that last season felt like they could have made one more season. One
of those.
Yeah. And it was very oh, they do finally get together and they get married, but it's a very blink and you'll miss it moment when they get married. And it's wow, really? That's why it's the whole romance in Agretsuko is very weak. The weakest part of the series. The best part of the series was the side characters. The side characters are have way more interesting things going for them than the romance, which is a shame, I think.
Well, now that the show is over, I guess I should check it out because I've only seen the web miniseries.
Oh yeah, me too. That's that's what I thought the show was. I thought the show was just them rehashing those miniseries, but nah, they're their own little stories, Exactly. What was I gonna?
Apparently, there's also a Christmas movie.
There's a Christmas special that happens between season 1 and 2. We skipped it when we watched it, so I was missing a chunk of information. I was like, "What the fuck? Wait, when did this happen?" And then we watched the Christmas special.
Heartbreaking. The Christmas special was canon.
Right, exactly. That's That's the frustrating thing of this. Man. So I guess anyone got anything else you want to talk about before we go to the final question?
No, that was it. I just had to promote more of my smut of the week.
Nice.
The artist's name is Forrester, by the way. That's a Forrester with an E, if you ever want to look it up.
I like to promote.
That's very great, Julian.
Seeing how everyone is getting into One Piece, I like to promote the doujin where Chopper turns into a horny monster and has sex with Robin. That's the one I'm promoting.
Is that real?
That one is real. There's like 2 chapters of it so far. And in the second one, they had a cliffhanger that showed that Carrot was going to join, and it's like, oh wow,
it's kind of hilarious because
the plot thickens.
Right, it's characterized as Chopper doesn't know what a boner is.
Like, what's going on with my body, right?
Jesus
and Robin's
Christ.
all like, "There's only one way to teach him. I have to jack him off."
Yeah.
Yep.
You have to get the poison out.
Right, exactly.
It's like you have to pee on me. You have to.
Oh please.
But also Chopper's cum has a aphrodisiac.
All right. That's enough. I've seen this 1,000 times. I know
everyone's
I know
cum always has aphrodisiac.
It always works.
Okay, with your Xbox.
The hips move on their own. I know.
Oh no, my mind is going blank.
That is a line that they overuse.
I love that one audio that's been going around where it's like the hentai dialogue but kind of played straight, where it's like plop 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 plop, get pregnant. that piece of audio is great. Anyway, I'm gonna cancel the people who enjoy that Chopper doujin.
What are you talking about? You just said you read it. You didn't like it?
I read it and I was like, well, I read it, and and am I gonna read the next chapter when it drops? Maybe, perchance, maybe. I'm not.
I have my pre-order in for it.
Fucking pre-order.
Right, this bro's pre-ordering the porn.
When are they gonna drop the next chapter of fucking...
This guy's got the Melon Books pre-order.
They're gonna drop the next chapter of fucking space nostalgia. I want to see what else she shoves up her butt. Damn it. But yeah, so I'm canceling. Yeah, I guess I'm canceling. Okay, real thing to cancel. I'm canceling the zoo, not because.
Oh. For their lies.
For their lies. For their thing, like, for their fucking, like, oh yeah, the animal is behind the rock. Like, I'm so sick of it. Remove the rocks out of all their little habitats. Remove the rocks. I want to see it. If the exhibit says like the fucking antelope, I want to see what the antelope looks like. I don't want it behind a fucking rock. I know you might say it's inhumane that they don't let that, like, what I'm basically advocating is that they gotta, like, make those animals do tricks. All I'm saying that at least in SeaWorld, that motherfucker's doing flips, you know? And that's what it's all about. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I guess I'm canceling zoos. What are you canceling, Julian?
I want to cancel Pete Holmes. I've been seeing a lot of Pete Holmes on my feed lately. I didn't know that guy was still working. I don't think he's funny. He annoys me. You're canceled, Pete Holmes.
Oh.
So, yeah, Pete Holmes is a comedian, Cheesy, in case you didn't know.
I'm looking him up. Yeah.
I actually kind of know of Pete Holmes because he has that podcast. And I've actually listened to a few episodes because he had a guest I like. And you know what, Julian? I think I kind of agree with you. He seems kind of annoying.
Yeah.
Those podcast episodes I listened to were good, though.
Nice.
Was it the guest that was?
It was the guest.
Perhaps?
It was the guest. The first half of the episode, he kind of just like, I know it's not an interview podcast, but I kind of just wanted him to It's like, all right, well, let's get back to this guy. Let's get back to the guest, please. And then usually by the second half, he kind of pumps the brakes. So I appreciate that at least. Silver linings, right?
Those are my favorite kinds of podcasts. Is when they have a guest. Is when I'm not familiar with the podcast, but they have the guest on and the guest is like carrying the thing. Because I hate it when like there's the guest is on, but the podcast has like weird, annoying bits they have to do because this.
Oh yeah. They're just completely out of their element.
Yeah, and I'm like, please just talk to this guy. I don't need to fucking have your unfunny podcast.
I think the only time I've ever been okay with that is on Harmontown, because they'll have like really important people on that show back when it was still a thing. And you would have bits where like Rob Schraub does not respect the guest.
And
everyone's just like, what are you doing, man? We got Lorne Michaels here. Shut the fuck up.
I'm hoping one day I become a good podcaster. And I think it might happen by episode 200.
Oh, so we're right on track.
Yeah, we're right on track.
Hour 10,000.
Yeah, that's when like that's when the real podcast magic happens. That's when it activates your podcaster hockey.
Yeah.
All right, who do you want to cancel, Tech? Who do you think deserves the hammer?
Okay, I was thinking about this before coming on the podcast. I always want to make sure that I aim true with my cancellations.
Yeah, you don't want to like just cancel anybody. That'd be stupid.
Yeah, I'm going to cancel my fellow racers in F-Zero 99. Stop bumping into me. Stop bumping into me. Let me merge, please. Let me get first place, please. I've only gotten 10th place. I need to get to first. Please and thank you. My car can only boost once per lap. I don't have good recovery and my boost costs too much.
Please.
Who do you name, F-Zero?
I use the Fire Stingray. I'm a Goro Chad.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Goro Chads, let's go.
It has the best grip, the best control, and the highest top speed, but it drains boost like a motherfucker. So yeah, there you go. I'm fucking obsessed with that game right now.
That's pretty cool. I'm hopefully they don't take the game off, like, because this is the first time they did like the battle royale version of a game, right? And then they just take it off. Didn't they do that with like Tetris 99?
Tetris is still around. I don't think it'll happen to the F-Zero one because the Pac-Man one is or already did get taken down just because it was completely dead.
Damn.
And it might have there's like some sort of it was like a Bandai Namco thing, so maybe there was like some sort of deal Nintendo didn't want to like re-up on. And then there was that Mario one that was always like advertised as a limited event. So I guess there's always a chance that F-Zero 99 just like completely like loses its player base and then they shut it down, or just like the inevitability of like this entire service getting shut down. But I don't think I think it'll at least have more legs than the Pac-Man one.
Yeah, it sounds like people
or fingers crossed.
Sounds like people are liking it. I'm hearing a lot of positive things about it.
It's fucking good.
The last game I played was Sand Tetris. It's like Tetris, but the blocks turn into sand when they touch. And
so it's like some sort of sand Tetris.
Yeah, it is some sort of sand Tetris. A very, very high level thinking. Well, I think with that, Tech, what do you got? What do you got to promote before you head on out?
I'm kind of between videos right now. I'm so I guess I'll just promote the channel in general. TectonicImprov.com.
Oh yeah.
Reps to GOG as well. I haven't forgotten about Reps to GOG. It's still around. So check out Reps to GOG as well if you like PS2 reviews.
Right.
We got quite a few of them.
Is such a good idea, and I wish I had $1 million because I would just blow all of my money on it. To make more Reps to GOG happen.
I wish you had
the listener,
$1 million as well.
Put all of your money into Reps to GOG.
Put all your money to the Rep to God coin. We can make it blow up, guys.
To the moon.
We can do it. We can do it.
We can fucking do it. What's the disc rot age with like PS2 games?
We don't really know.
Damn.
The DVD format can last like fucking 70 years, right? Isn't that what it is? There's actually that really funny William Friedkin interview quote about DVD rot. Let me see if I can find
I
it.
think I saw that going around. It's pretty funny because wasn't something like, oh, they said it'd take 10 years. And how do they know that?
It's like, how the fuck do you know that? Yeah, all right. Here, there. I'll leave you all with this excerpt from a William Friedkin interview.
This is really
where he's shitting on Oliver Stone.
nice. 10 years old.
Fuck yeah! All right.
They said we're trying to know the last 10 years. I think at the time he said that he didn't want people to buy Alexander on DVD. Fuck him and Alexander. God, this is how I'm trying to be once I become a big, huge comics guy. I'm just gonna shit talk all the people I don't like, and people would.
Yeah, they have to put up with it because you made The Exorcist.
Yeah, exactly. You made Sorcerer. And Julian, what do you got? What do you got to promote?
Nothing concrete yet. I've made a lot of changes to vqcd.in. It's my main website where I keep all of my super awesome stuff. For those of you that have been hounding me like, oh, when are you going to reopen the Patreon? Patreon is reopened.
Hooray!
But there's nothing on it, so don't bother patroning.
Patreon.com/Julian or XQCD.
Did you do that on purpose?
That's totally my
XKCD, that's me.
XKCD. I'm sorry.
Oh, you made this comic? Yeah.
That's me. Give them money.
And I'm Cheesymanfredo. I got nothing going for me right now. I am working hard at my day job. I'm trying to keep myself afloat. We submitted Extra Souls to Silver Sprocket. We're waiting until we hear back. Hopefully we hear back from them soon. Yeah, I got nothing much going for me. I'm mostly doing NSFW commissions. The copies of Extra Souls that people pre-ordered are coming, I promise. I'm still.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
yes.
They're coming. I'm working on it. All that extra content stuff. I've said this like millions of times on other podcasts. I got sidetracked really hard by everything that happened last month, and even now it's even tough to kind of pull out things together for the book. But they're gonna get done by the end of the month. I trust the plan.
Trust the plan.
That being said, I did also pre-order a lot of non-extra content versions of Extra Souls because I'm gonna start doing events again, and I want to have something. It's cheaper to print out more copies of Extra Souls than copies of Mick Pagliacci. I would have done more Mick Pagliacci, but that shit's expensive to reprint.
It was a nice book. Nicely
it is a nice book, and that's one of the reasons.
Even though mine arrived bent, I still love it.
Exactly. I've been getting more. Sometimes I get people randomly adding me on Instagram posts saying like, "Oh, read this book about Ronald McDonald. Pretty good stuff at Cheesymanfredo." And I'm like, that's good. Hopefully I get enough traction. I also got even mentioned in a indie comic zine recently. Someone mentioned Mick Pagliacci. And
nice.
That's like, oh, that's pretty good. So if I could get some traction for some people, that'd be pretty base. We'll see how that goes.
That's the best kind of advertising, the kind that you don't have to pay for, and it retroactively keeps insisting upon itself.
Well, the thing about the indie comic one is that I did send a copy to the guy who runs that because I heard that I heard that he talks. He'll usually try to talk about the comics people send to him, if he likes them. So I was like, okay, well, time to gamble. I have some spare Mick Pagliacci's, and he liked it enough to mention it in his zine. So we'll see how that goes. But everyone. I need everyone's energy that hopefully Silver Sprocket is down with Extra Souls, because that would be a really good miracle right now for me. Just saying, All
right, everyone listening, get out your copy of The Secret. Mm-hmm. Turn to page 22.
We're gonna manifest this for me, and you might be thinking how do I benefit from this? Well, if I'm doing good, I might give you money for something you make if it's good too, maybe, perhaps, in the future. We'll see.
High tide raises all boats, my friends.
Exactly, right? Because if I become huge and famous, they're gonna be like, "Whoa, that's Tectonic." They're gonna be like, "Whoa, that's Cheesymanfredo," and he's buddy with Tectonic Improv. That means Tectonic Improv must be important too. And exactly,
true.
that's how that works. That's how that works. That's, you might call that nepotism. I call that networking.
We're like the New York of people. You
Am I your
boost one of
son?
us,
What?
you boost all of
Right,
us.
exactly. And with that, goodbye, everybody.
Bye bye.